Welcome to Cardinals Cover 2 with Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki. Cardinals Cover 2 is brought to you by Arizona Cardinals Podcasts. Visit azcardinals.com/podcasts. From the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, here's Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki.
So 4 years ago, when asked about the number of targets he had been receiving, Larry Fitzgerald answered, and I quote, "Where I grew up, we called those champagne problems." I think, MJ, I've got a champagne problem to share here on the show. By the way, it's good to be back, and I'm not going to break into any song here, but reunited, yes, and it does feel good, and that's as far as I'm going to go.
Yeah, that was Peaches and Cream, right?
Yeah, Peaches and Herb.
Peaches and Herb. What was I thinking?
You're thinking, I don't know, ice cream, dessert.
I did have, yeah. I've had some
hungry?
Dessert. No, I did have some dessert over the weekend. Actually, had some nice banana bread. I don't know if I can classify that as dessert, but I did have some pie.
You could use
pie
a little
cream.
dessert.
Yeah, the problem is I was well. First of all, welcome back. Good to have you back. You will talk about your trip in a moment, but I went back east to visit the family. I didn't go to Hawaii with the family, but I felt like I ate really good back there, like chicken wings, roast beef on Kimmelwick rolls, pizza. Had a few Canadian beers,
and you still lost 5 pounds.
No, I come back and they're like, "Did you gain any weight?" I'm like, "I think I did, but maybe I didn't."
So, yes, in Hawaii for 1 week, the grandparents invited the entire family to spend some time together, which was great. Had a great time.
Great for the grandkids.
Except our vacation lasted a day later than everyone else's. A little mechanical issue. So instead of arriving on Sunday morning, we didn't arrive until just a few hours ago here at Sky Harbor Airport. So, again, you're stuck. You might as well get stuck on the island.
Right. Now, if you don't know Craig, he is Mr. Organization.
It was a little stressful.
Oh, I can imagine because, I came back on a Friday just because I was going to spend a week once we were off. So I got back on a Friday. So I had plenty of time. And in my flight coming back, I was going from Buffalo to Chicago and then Phoenix. And then I get to the airport. Next thing I'm going from Buffalo to Chicago to L.A. and then Phoenix. So I know you're Mr. Organization and being organized. So
we have a show to do here.
So what happened though? Like,
you
just had to wait for
an extra day, and there's not a lot of flights that leave, and
But like you said, there's worse places you can hang out.
Exactly. But I had to be back on Monday
because dedication,
we
passion.
had a show here, and as they say, the show must go on. And let's take off here on this Monday from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center. Let you know what we've got in store here on this first Monday of July. Sounds like the debate continues. Kyler Murray or Andy Isabella for the title of fastest Cardinals rookie. We've got one more number to help explain Larry Fitzgerald's greatness on the field. We'll be joined by undrafted rookie corner Nate Brooks, a 4-year starter at North Texas, now looking to further his football career at the NFL level. And, of course, your questions via social media. And for those watching us on Facebook Live, you can get in touch with the show here using the hashtag CardsCover2. Hashtag CardsCover2, using the number 2 to get involved in the show. Love hearing from the Bird Gang here. We'll do that just a little bit later on in the show. But first things first, the news of the day. And yes, the ratings are in, the much anticipated, always much discussed ratings for the Madden NFL. The ratings are in, and I'll be honest with you, everyone. I don't play the game. I don't play video games. I am familiar with the video game, and the overall grades of the Cardinals rookie class are out. And the big one is, of course, Kyler Murray. But he does not have the best overall grade amongst Cardinal rookies.
Yeah, and that would go to Byron Murphy, who a lot of the experts had as the number one corner in the draft when it came to being a shutdown corner, a guy that can play in man and press coverage. Maybe he's getting an opportunity to play right away here. So he had a 75 grade, Murray a 73 grade, Hakeem Butler 72, Andy Isabella 72, Zach Allen 69, Deontay Thompson 69, Keyshawn Johnson a 67, Josh Miles 56, Michael Dogby 66, Lamont Gilliard 66, and then Caleb Wilson, Mr. Irrelevant, at 66. Now, I guess, and I don't play it. I follow it because I know it's a status thing and swag when it comes to players, not only rookies but also veteran players. So
it bothers some guys depending on what that number is next to their name.
And I've seen teams actually send highlights or video, and they'll change it to a different score. So teams will try to do that to obviously prop up their players. But according to Madden, EA Sports, they changed the ratings this year. So I looked it up last year. Like Baker Mayfield was an 80. Year before that, Patrick Mahomes was a 77. So I'm thinking, how is Murray in the 70s? Well, they changed the grading this year when it comes to the ratings. So that's the reason why he's not as high as Patrick Mahomes or a guy like Baker Mayfield, who I'm going to use two as an examples.
Murray, an overall rating, as we mentioned, a 73. He has a speed rating, though, of 91, which is very, very good, and more on that speed rating in a moment. And you actually, before these ratings came out, you actually had a little bit of a moment in that Cardinals locker room with Kyler Murray about his rating.
Yeah, so he obviously does his media availability, and, he'll sit at his locker sometimes. He gets on his phone, so I walked over there, and I said, these are predictions when it comes to the Madden release. And he says, when's it coming out? And usually it's like late June or early July. It's the off season, so obviously, Madden's getting a lot of exposure today, and then they announce who's on the cover. And I want to say it's Patrick Mahomes. They made that announcement after the Super Bowl. So he was intrigued by it because he had a really high college number because he obviously put up big numbers. And so the guy that was making the predictions, I don't think he was aware of them changing the rules, but he said, I got an 81. He goes, I would be happy with an 81. So according to Murray, he's not very happy. According to the video, and he was having some fun with it. Now, when you start talking about speed, Andy Isabella has a 95 grade.
Well, we'll get into that, but you talked about Murray's reaction to his Madden rating. Here is the Cardinals rookie quarterback.
Kyler Murray, and I'm not happy with my Madden rating. That's tough. No, I'm happy with it. It's cool. Yeah.
Thanks to EA Sports, Madden NFL 20 for that. But it does bother some guys, and they'll get on social media. They'll tweet about it, go on Facebook, Instagram, and in the past, and I don't know if this will be the case this time around, they've gotten their number changed.
Yeah, they have. Now, there's only one rookie player that hasn't grade in the 80s. Only one.
Correct.
And that's a defensive player.
Well, in fact, the top 3 rated players, and this is the rookie class, are all 3 defensive players. Quinnen Williams, Ed Oliver, and Nick Bosa. 80, 79, 78, respectively.
That's pretty impressive, and I know the Cardinals really liked two of the 3 of those guys if they decide to keep Josh Rosen. Obviously, they don't want a do-over. They like exactly what they did in the draft. But you could see that's where the draft was going. It was either going to be Murray, Williams, or Bosa.
Now, we mentioned Murray's speed of 91 and Isabella's speed of 95, and the question is, okay, who's the fastest Cardinals rookie? And video surfaced last week while I was gone, and it did go viral. And I don't know if we ever figured out if this was actually a true 40-yard.
20.
It was 20 yards.
20 yards.
20-yard race. And this is all the rookies because they're here for the past couple of weeks, but it's also featured, highlighted, spotlighted, if you will, of Kyler Murray and Andy Isabella, who, again, at the Combine ran a 4.31, so who was faster. And on the video, it certainly looked like Isabella edged him out, at least from what I saw. It was close, but it looked like Isabella had him by maybe just a little bit of air. See, so as we replay the video, the problem with this is that are you really accurate at the finish line? Is the camera lined up with that finish line? So
probably not.
There's been a lot of debate as far as who won this race.
I'm going with Murray.
You're going with Murray.
Yeah.
Well, Murray told Lisa Matthews that he won the race.
Yeah, of course.
And, of course, Isabella thinks he won the race, and he was actually asked about it and brought up that race in an interview last week with Arizona Family's Mark McClune.
All right, so take me through the video's gone viral. We've seen you racing Kyler Murray. We don't know who won. Can you confirm who won that race?
That was the only time that Kyler came close to me in any of the races. So I mean, he could do all the talking he wants. I mean, he knows what's up.
It looked like you were kind of looking at him and talking to him too at the end. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, he talks so much trash that you got to talk a little trash back to him, because every time I would beat him, he would be like, I wasn't ready, or like I wasn't going that fast at that time. But and then that was the only way. He's like, oh, I'm gonna beat you this time. I was like, so I was like just laughing the whole time, having fun. I mean, it's good. We're having a great bond together and just getting to know each other. So it's been fun working with him.
This is something.
How
that
do you
is
not
gonna
root
be,
for Andy Isabella? He just looks like he's 15 years old, and he's the ball boy, and he's a guy that can run a 4.31.
I like that. The guy that is not on the field, but maybe off the field helping out. I like that's a good description.
And he's out there doing charity work. How do you not root for the guy? Now, the reason why I say this, if you go back to the video, you watch how Murray gets off the line of scrimmage, and then you could see that Isabella puts it in gear. But I think at the end, Murray crosses the line, whether it was 20 yards or not. Look at Murray's get off here.
No, and it's. I just think you look at
that get off
by a nose. Now, whether we're ever going to see Murray's true speed in game action, I don't know.
We're going to see it.
You think we are?
Yeah.
By design, or because a play has broken down, or he's scrambling for his life?
Probably the latter. I mean, we're going to see him run 20 or 30 yards for a touchdown. It's going to happen.
I hope it's by design, as opposed to him sitting there all of a sudden. He's got to use his legs to outmaneuver
not
someone.
to put himself in harm's way.
Sure, yes.
I mean, again, once he gets past that first layer, and depending on how far these DBs have to cover the receivers, I mean, now it's a open race for him. I mean, give him a sliver, he's going to score a touchdown. I mean, I do think we're going to see a 20 or 30 yard touchdown run based on a broken play that he was able to make something out of it.
Again, thanks to Mark McClune and Arizona's family for that interview with Isabella, and I think this is something that we will see and hear about throughout the season. Whether we actually get more video of this, I'm not exactly sure, but something that these guys could have done at the tail end of their 2-week rookie orientation, and now you've got 5-6 weeks before you have to kind of ramp it up again. But I don't know if we're going to see another 40-yard sprint to the finish, or in that case, a 20-yard sprint.
Probably not, but over the last couple of years, analytics has definitely been prevalent in the NFL, not as much as other sports, but there's a thing called next-gen stats,
Yes.
and they'll show you a player that's running, and they'll give you the miles per hour, and then they can calculate it to what his 40 time is. So next-gen does a great job, and I think he'll be highlighted a lot this year. So we'll actually figure out how fast he's running, and that will dictate what he can do a 40 in.
Correct me if I'm wrong, did not Christian Kirk have like a 30 or a 32 mile per hour at one point, and I don't remember which touchdown it was, or maybe even which catch it was. Was
according to Grant? Look at that.
Look at that. Our assistant producer
guy,
Grant Greeley,
why
who
he
doesn't
knows
get
this?
enough attention, not enough credit.
That's true.
Telling us that it was the Raiders game in which Christian Kirk.
And you know why he knows that? Because he knows the archives.
That's true. Grant
he's
knows
watched
all.
that play a ton. I was going to maybe say it was the 75-yard touchdown pass to Kirk, and he chimed in right away with it.
Yeah, Grant knows it all.
Thank you, Grant.
Appreciate that.
Always adding to the show.
The voice behind the voiceless here on Cards Covered 2. By the way, speaking of speed, did you catch the 40 yards of gold over the weekend?
I did not watch it live, and I noticed that Ted Ginn did not show up. He does all that yapping for $1 million or $10,000 or something. Somebody put up $1 million.
He started this, didn't even bother to show up. Buda Baker and Demir Bird did not participate. In fact, Baker told us that he wasn't going to do it, and that was weeks ago. Bird was thinking about it, but ultimately decided not to do it. But the race won by 49ers wide receiver Marquise Goodwin. He has a little bit of advantage over everyone else. He's a very good sprinter and an Olympic hopeful. So it's
2020.
Yeah, so he beat out Panthers defensive back Dante Jackson, but we'll see if this continues. But no Ted Ginn Jr.
I mean, even a high school kid called out Ted Ginn Jr. I was hoping the guy with the Braves Flash is his name.
Yes,
He actually lost the other day.
He loses every now and then.
Okay, well, that's probably
running on the warning track.
Yeah, exactly. So I was hoping he would enter, but a high school player, and he was only wanting, I think it was $10,000. He was him or his father was gonna put it. But Ted Ginn, you don't even show up to a contest you challenge people to. Come here, kitty.
Just getting started here on a Monday afternoon as we broadcast from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, and doing so as we always do in our Bose Bose QC35. It's easy for me to see. See what happens when you go on vacation for a little bit?
See, when you're on that long flight to Hawaii, you didn't have these headphones.
Know what?
They started playing
them.
tricks with your mind.
Yeah, they fit nicely, and they block out all the outside. I should have taken a pair on the plane.
Exactly.
Taken these, and no one would have known.
You're still waiting for that president to mail.
Bose.com for more information to get one of these great headphones here that
great
we
for
use
traveling.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Great for just everyday activities.
Absolutely. And, of course, a reminder, if you ever miss a show here, and really there's no reason to miss a show, you can download as a podcast via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play Music, TuneIn, and SoundCloud. And don't forget, all of your favorite Cardinals podcasts can be found at azcardinals.com/podcasts. Cardinals also doing good work around the community, and they are asking for your help as well. In honor of its 100th season, the NFL is inviting fans to join the Cardinals, Cardinals players, and the other teams in a volunteer initiative called Huddle for 100. The goal of the campaign is for NFL fans to donate 100 million minutes of time to help shape what our communities will look like for the next 100 years. Those fans that do donate will be entered for a chance to win a VIP experience at the Super Bowl in Miami and other great prizes. azcardinals.com/Cardinals Huddle for 100 for all of your information and to enter for a chance to win great prizes. But better than that, a great cause here throughout the entire 2019 season.
Yeah, and we want to see participation. I mean, obviously each team has an opportunity in their fan base to obviously, volunteer some time and as Craig pointed out, a lot of different activities to choose from. And granted, if you don't win the Super Bowl tickets, these are great prizes. So let's show our Cardinal pride right here. Try to do as much participation and let your friends know, because somebody's going to win those tickets and somebody's getting some great prizes.
Again, azcardinals.com/Cardinals Huddle for 100. All right, moving right along here. We all know how great Larry Fitzgerald is, and you shared something with us over the weekend, MJ, that I think Cardinal fans will be very, very interested in. And this is courtesy of Roto Fantasy Football. NFL percentage of seasons which each wide receiver spent working with a Pro Bowl quarterback during their careers. In other words, who was throwing them the football, and they listed 10 of the greats to ever participate in the game, and only Calvin Johnson had less time with a Pro Bowl quarterback than Fitz. Fitz, 13% of his time in the NFL spent with a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, and Calvin Johnson, 8%. And we were trying to figure out, okay, those quarterbacks that made it to the Pro Bowl that threw passes to Larry Fitzgerald are?
2, Kurt Warner and Carson Palmer. And as for Calvin Johnson, it was only Matthew Stafford, who's yet to win a postseason game.
And then you look at the other wide receivers on this list. Marvin Harrison, obviously 69%. Well, who's throwing him the football?
Peyton Manning,
who was a perennial
first ballot
Pro
Hall
Bowler.
of Famer.
So Jerry Rice, 67%. Joe Montana, Steve Young. So it shows
T.O. Tony Romo was a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Terrell Owens, 60%.
Moss.
I'll give you the rest of the Randy Moss, Chris Carter, Art Monk, Tim Brown, Steve Largent at 21%, and then Fitzgerald and Johnson. It just goes to show you how successful Fitz and Johnson were, the best at their position, dominant.
Regardless of the quarterback.
And just showing you, all right, get me the football any way you can. And sometimes maybe they didn't know where it was going or if it was going to be thrown in the right spot. But once they got that football in their hands, one, they made the catch because they each have great hands, and then two, able to do something with the football after the catch.
Yeah, and when I look at that stat, it just goes to show you that Larry Fitzgerald's made a lot of money and a lot of careers from not great quarterbacks. I mean, once Kyler Murray throws a touchdown pass to Fitz, that'll be the 21st quarterback in 16 years that Larry Fitzgerald's caught a touchdown pass for. So, and Larry's had plenty of opportunities to be traded. I know this for a fact. When he was making close to $24 million a year, there were 2 teams that would have picked up that contract, and they wanted to make him the face of the franchise. And those were the Raiders and Browns, and Larry said no. And Larry maintained that I want to be a Cardinal my entire career. He's had plenty of opportunities to go in there and say, I want to go play for a winner and I want to chase a contender. Not happening. So props to Larry. He's never complained. I know for a fact he signed off on Kevin Cobb. He was really excited about Josh McCown. He liked some other quarterbacks coming here. So it wasn't ideal, but he made the best of the opportunities.
Well, and let's not, downgrade the quarterbacks that were throwing him the football. They were NFL quarterbacks.
Caliber.
It's just not a Peyton Manning, a Steve Young. You're talking about Hall of Fame quarterbacks versus quarterbacks that just threw the ball on Sunday.
Yeah, and let's be honest. Larry's coming out party was the 2008 playoffs. Larry's accomplished every regular season award. Yes, he's still trailing Jerry Rice, and we'll see what happens with Jason Witten because he's coming back to play, and I got to think Witten's going to play a few more years, so we'll see where those catches go. But he has really nothing more to prove in the regular season. So his goal is to get back to the postseason and put up more postseason numbers, not to pad his stats, but he wants to play in the postseason. So, I would like to see it. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I know that he's really excited about this year. And if this is his final year, I hope he goes out with a bang.
And then again, this graphic of Roto Fantasy Football that they put up over the weekend, it just goes to show you. We all, again, as I said, we all know how good, how great, how excellent Larry Fitzgerald is. But when you rank him amongst some of the all-time greats, and then you figure out, okay, teammates, offensive line, running back, quarterback, who do they have surrounding them as far as, getting deep into the postseason, getting to the Super Bowl, winning Super Bowls, it all factors in. And then you just look at Fitz's numbers and you're like, wow, that's pretty impressive considering there has not been many moments, postseason moments, compared to some of the other wide receivers out there.
And the graphic was Pro Bowl, not a Hall
Correct.
of Famer, a Pro Bowl. Again, the way you described the NFL percentage of seasons, which each wide receiver spent working with a Pro Bowl quarterback during his careers. Can you imagine if he was on another team with a Hall of Fame quarterback, which he was here with the Cardinals and Warner, Pro Bowl quarterback, and Palmer? Those numbers would be a lot higher. But don't feel sorry for Larry. Listen, he's accomplished a ton in his life, and he's happy to be an Arizona Cardinal.
Absolutely. More Fitz. Nearly every single receiving record he held once upon a time belonged to Roy Green. Green celebrated a birthday yesterday, so a belated happy birthday to number 81. And recently, Roy Green and Larry Fitzgerald sat down for an exclusive interview with Paul Calvisi. This was done a few years back, but because of, one, we're talking about Fitz, and two, it was Roy Green's birthday, we thought we would share that with you. Two of the best to play their position, maybe two of the best all time with the Arizona Cardinals to play the wide receiver position, sitting down with Paul Calvisi.
I just always could run. I don't know why. I just could run.
How many receivers make future Hall of Famers jealous?
If you could borrow something from his game, what would it be?
Speed. That goes without saying.
Every single Cardinals receiving record that Larry Fitzgerald has set has gone through the great Roy Green. From 1979 until 1990, Green wore Cardinal red, and he wore many different hats. The rare player who actually scored 4 different ways: receiving, rushing, punt return, and kick return.
As a defensive coordinator, when you come in, you say, okay, who's the guy I got to stop? And, unfortunately for me, that was me most of the time.
Just like that 4.2 40 that Green once ran, time flies.
I was doing an interview, and the first thing the guy said was, Roy, I'm sure you've lost a step. Actually, I know definitely that you've lost a step. And my reply to him was, I had one to lose.
There's one common denominator you see in all of his highlight films is him taking the top off the defense. Roy had that innate ability just to run by anybody, make the play, and once he caught it, nobody was going to catch him. Jetstream Green, come on, I never was blessed with anything like that. You watch Roy on tape, he's usually a step ahead of guys, a step or two ahead of guys.
Like in 1984 when Roy Green put up more than 1,500 yards receiving. At the time, it was the 3rd most receiving yards ever in a single NFL season.
He set the bar high, and I remember as a rookie, looking at the numbers and saying, man, I got a lot of work to do to even get close to this.
Of course, when the two-time Pro Bowler Roy Green came out of Henderson State and was a young player, he wasn't even a receiver. He was a kick returner, went to cornerback. He ran the ball 23 times. He had 4 interceptions in his career, recovered 20 fumbles, even attempted 2 passes before deciding to catch passes full time.
Most people don't know that my first year as a receiver was in my 3rd year. So like I looked at my my little card and I saw the first 2 years it had 1 catch. In my first year, I'm like, a catch? And I remember I caught a fake punt. It was my first reception in the league. So, you know, there was no numbers for a couple of years. So when people talk about when I retired and they say that, you know, you're in the top 20 all the time over a 14-year period, I'm like, well, that's not really true. It's really more like an 11-and-a-half-year period where I'm in the top 20. So that was what I was most proud of, I think.
Receivers definitely remember 2 things: big catches and big hits, making them and taking them.
To get up and know you're going to get knocked around and beat up for a long period of time, I mean, you can't do it unless you love it.
In the 1980s, big hits were plentiful and legal. Plus, Roy played in an era with Ronnie Lott, and that you do not forget.
But every time I see Ronnie, I tell him he cost me probably about 3 strokes off my handicap because of this shoulder.
If you did get hit, the rule was don't let him see you hurt.
We were playing in St. Louis, caught a ball, and he hit me, and I went down. And when I came up, I just jogged off the field, went to the sideline, like I'm telling the training equipment guy that it's an equipment problem because I didn't want him to know how bad I was hurting.
In a career that included 559 catches for nearly 9,000 yards and 66 touchdowns, not to mention another 2,200 yards in punt and kickoff returns, John Madden not only named Roy Green to his annual All-Madden team, but said that at one time, Madden regarded Roy Green as not just the best wide receiver in the game, but the best player, period.
Do you think that's vital to be one of the best of all time? Do you have to love the game?
Oh, no question. I have an argument all the time with some of my friends who play different sports, and they were at the pinnacle of their careers. I mean, they were great players, you know. And I always tell them, you can be a great basketball player, a great baseball player, and not love the game. You can't do that in football because it demands so much of you.
Roy Green, 62 years young, celebrating his birthday of the weekend on Sunday. In fact, again, a happy birthday from all of us here on Cards Cover 2. We've Green up this season, inducted to the team's Ring of Honor back in 2016. Just seeing him and Fitz together. Again, this was a couple of years back, sitting down with Paul Calvisi. These two get along great. They're very good friends. Yet they are not prone to needle one another because Roy is quick to point out to Fitz that, hey, if they threw the ball half as much as they did now back when I played, you wouldn't have caught any of my records.
You know, we do the post-game show with Roy over the years, and, you know, there are times he comes in there and he bleeds Cardinal red, and you know, when he speaks and people call in and give a player's perspective, I mean, and to watch that and know what he meant to this organization and what kind of career he had, I mean, it's really an honor to do the show with him, let alone it's his birthday. But he doesn't really remind us of how great he was. But when I watch the highlights and, you know, there's a St. Louis football account on Twitter that I follow, even though I didn't cover the Cardinals, but it's a lot of history. Every time they show something besides, you know, birthdays and accolades, he has all those records in St. Louis. And so it's remarkable. And Larry's probably right. His numbers would be a lot higher. I had no idea that his first couple of years really wasn't a full-time wide receiver. Obviously, we're in number 25 would have signaled that. And, you know, and Larry was also right. A lot of those passes, he was taking the top off the defense. In other words, just throw it, I'm going to catch it. But you got to have speed. You got to get off press coverage. You got to get separation. So Again, it's really an honor for us to do the show with him because he's been a great Cardinal for years.
And that is the one thing Fitz did bring up was Green's speed. That's the one thing that
Can't teach it, Craig.
And the one thing that Fitz doesn't have compared to the other, wide receivers out there. But you mentioned Roy Green on the postgame show. He watches the game much differently, and I think a lot of former players do it because what we see, whether you're at the stadium or on television, their eyes go different places, and they see what the defense is doing or what the offensive line is doing. They see things away from the action, and that's why when there is a play that we all say highlight or let's go back, remember that, they'll bring a different perspective saying, you know what, it wasn't that guy's fault, it was that other guy's fault or perhaps someone else, because we only see one angle, one side, and we don't know what the play was from the sideline, what the quarterback maybe checked out of, or what the receiver might have seen and changed his route because of what the defense was doing. That doesn't get factored into what we're seeing live, and it's all second guess, but what at that particular moment in time, what was supposed to happen, and then what does happen.
Oh, I can't tell you how many times it's happened because, we watch the game. We sit next to each other. He does halftime. He does the pregame show. But he's there. We're sitting next to each other. So we always try to look at 5 plays that dictates the game, and you have to read and react. Now, so we go on the air, and then they'll have the head coach's press conference, and you're hoping it gets asked there. And then Roy jumps in, and I'm saying, I know for a fact a couple times I thought Josh Rosen missed a receiver. He said, well, the receiver, he didn't run deep enough. Josh was expecting him to be there. So I know it's happened on countless times where we see a play in the game, we try to find out something from the players in the locker room, what happened, or the head coach, and then Roy clues us in. This is what happened here. He did not run the wrong route. He ran the right route. He ran the wrong route where Josh made the right throw.
Yeah, so it's always good to hear from and then reminisce with Mr. 81, Roy Green. As we continue here from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, broadcasting on this Monday afternoon in our Bose QC35s. Go to Bose.com for more information. And, of course, if you want to get a pair just like what we use here on Cards Cover 2. A reminder, if you ever miss a show, you can download as a podcast, listen on your way to work, on your way home, via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play Music, TuneIn, and SoundCloud. And don't forget, all of your favorite Cardinal podcasts can be found at azcardinals.com/podcast. All right, before we hear from the Bird Gang, and still time to get your questions in, your comments using the hashtag CardsCover2, hashtag CardsCover2, using the number 2 to get involved in the show via social media. And for those watching us here on Facebook Live, want to feature a young player, an undrafted rookie corner by the name of Nate Brooks. Here's someone the Cardinals thought enough of to bring in following the draft. 6 feet, 190 pounds, one of 10 cornerbacks on the roster. And myself and Kyle Odegaard recently had a chance to speak with Brooks. Well, let's just jump right into it here, Nate. And how has this transition from North Texas to Arizona and life in the NFL?
It's been great. I mean, North Texas isn't a big school, so I'm not used to all the bright lights and what being an NFL player comes with, but it hasn't been bad. I mean,
has there been a welcome to the NFL moment for you when you're out on the practice field with Larry Fitzgerald or different things like that?
I think that day was when Pat P came back for the first day.
Yeah.
I caught myself staring at him, just trying to take in everything he was doing, but that was probably my welcome to the NFL moment.
They always tell us, or we always hear, that the biggest adjustment from college to the NFL is just the speed. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that, or did you notice that right away?
Yeah. First day when the vets came back, it got real fast. I was telling people on the sideline, I don't know what to do. Right. You know what I mean? I was in my head a little bit, and they just knew how to attack you that college receivers don't really know how yet. So. Yeah.
Do you feel the progress being made where it is starting to slow down a little bit? And you still got a little bit of time and heading into the preseason, but how do you feel now, and what are the main keys moving forward for you?
I definitely feel like it slowed down. It slowed down about after the first week or two. And it's just knowing the defense, knowing my responsibility, where's my help, how they're going to attack us, what's the weakness of this coverage or what I can give up. just knowing stuff like that'll help, and then being consistent every day, consistently going out there and working and giving it 110% every day. And I feel like that'll help me going into
a 4-year starter at North Texas. Last season, second team all conference. What were your expectations on draft weekend? And then the journey becomes even harder when you don't hear your name called and all of a sudden you get signed after the fact.
Well, from what I was hearing, everybody was saying day 3, late 6th or 7th. But I already knew how that draft day works. Everybody slides and you're supposed to go here and then you end up going here. So I already knew that, it was kind of iffy from the jump. But I mean, all I needed was an opportunity. That's all I prayed for, an opportunity to showcase my skills to a team.
Were there other teams kind of late in that day on that Saturday calling, or would you always have your eye on the Cardinals?
I had a couple teams that were texting me, sending me pictures from like the war room, how they were watching my film and stuff like that. But once it got kind of late 6th, 7th, I think me and my agent, we really locked in on Green Bay. They offered me a deal, and then, after the draft, announced it.
So did you? I think they signed you a few days after the draft. What was that moment like in between? Did you feel confident you'd get an opportunity and be able to sign with the team? Were you wondering if it was not going to happen at that point, or did you think you were going to latch on somewhere?
I was definitely a little uncertain about what was going to happen. I did stress for those couple of days. But my agent just buckled down and did a great job and just got me an opportunity. That's all I needed.
What was that moment like, knowing that a team did want to sign you to the roster?
Oh, it was great. Probably the best feeling I had in the last couple months, but it was great.
I don't know if you knew ahead of time, but special teams coach Jeff Rogers is a North Texas alum. Have you two connected? Have you leaned on him a little bit and say, hey, don't forget about me?
I talked to Coach Jeff a lot. The first time I met him, I actually didn't know he was a UNT alum, and so we kind of just make jokes about how I forgot it. I didn't know coming in. So
his picture's not up in the wall or whatever at the football complex?
The Hall of Fame?
Yeah. Ain't too many pictures around there.
We heard, so you played quarterback in high school?
Yes, sir.
And you were a couple hours away from a guy that's here, Mr. Kyler Murray, was playing around the same time. What did you know about him? Was he as big of a legend as everybody says?
Oh, yes. He's that man in Texas.
Yeah.
I have teammates I play with that, they idolize him right now. So he's the legend in Texas.
Is it fun being here with him now?
Oh, yeah. He's just a regular dude now. That's how a lot of the vets and a lot of the players are. Now to get around them, you just realize they're one of us.
Now, as a quarterback yourself, though, in high school, was it, I don't want to say annoying, but was it disappointing that one guy was kind of dominating the conversation and it's the same position you played?
No, not really. We were in 2 different classifications, so, and it never really bothered me that he was that guy.
Paint a picture for us here. Was it newspaper coverage, television coverage? How we hear it all the time that he was a legend. Even during those 4 seasons he was at Allen, Texas. But for someone who was there, lived it, what was it like on Friday nights or Saturdays, Sundays, the weekend?
All you saw on Twitter was Allen this, Allen that, Kyler this, Kyler that. So he was everywhere, just everywhere, popping up everywhere on your news feed, stats out of the it was just everywhere. I don't know how to describe it, but
yeah, the social media age was already alive and well. So last year you had 6 interceptions. Do ball skills just come naturally to you, and do you consider that a big strength of your game?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I can when the ball's in there, I can go get it wherever it is. So I do feel like that's a big strength.
And I heard that you might not have played a bunch of press coverage in college. but it seems like from your build and maybe your skill set, you can do it pretty well.
Yeah.
Do you think that's important to show you can do that at this level and fit in with what they want to do defensively?
Definitely. I feel like I have done that with my time being here, because that was a big question for them, because we didn't really press like that at North Texas. So just getting here and showing that I can actually play in their style of defense with a bunch of press man helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm. You brought up Patrick Peterson. How open has he been to allow to ask questions or show you what you guys are doing right, what you're doing wrong, to make that transition just a little bit easier?
I mean, they're very open to questions, like just any question you have about either scheme or technique or just anything about being a football player in general. They're very open. And, I mean, just knowing that if I have any questions or anything about anything, that I can just go to him and they'll enlighten me.
You got a couple more weeks here, and then you get a little bit of a break. How much are you looking forward to decompressing a little bit, and what do you do over the break? I'm sure it's some relaxation, but also plenty of studying.
Yeah, I'm going to just go home. I haven't seen my family in a while, man. Just go home, train, obviously, but go home and relax with my mom.
Yeah.
Get some home-cooked meals.
To unwind, I mean, what do you do just away from the game? It can't be all football all the time.
Oh, no. I'm a big Netflix guy. I can binge watch Netflix all day. Big movies guy. I like to bowl.
Bowl, okay.
Yeah.
How good of a bowler are you?
I like to think I'm all right. I'm all right. I don't think I'm too bad.
Have you hit 300?
300?
No.
It's a high bar.
Okay. Oh, yeah, it's perfect. I want to see just how good he is here.
No.
Join the professional bowling league if you're doing that.
No, I have not hit 300 yet.
All right. Well, Nate, it's good to kind of get to know you here. Your journey's incredible, but best of luck as you continue here with the Arizona Cardinals.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nate.
Thank you.
Mentioned ahead of that interview that the Cardinals have 10 cornerbacks on the roster. There might be a handful of more to come, just because there's a big question mark at that spot with Patrick Peterson missing the first 6 weeks, and then there's been a question mark at that position for years now.
Yeah, and the Cardinals will get a roster exemption, so he will not count against the 53. He'll be suspended by the National Football League and the commissioner. And so you're curious to see if they keep 5. I think Brandon Williams is still a guy that has made some strides as a corner, but he's a really good special teams player. So I think he's got an option to make it as a depth guy. And then, Chris Jones, I think we all were kind of surprised when they released David Amerson, considering his size and how many starts he had. But maybe they see something in Tremaine Brock and Chris Jones and maybe some of these undrafted free agents. But it wouldn't surprise me if they address that position between now and training camp, and maybe they get into camp and a week later they go out. Now, Maurice Claiborne is out there. They did bring him in and Tremaine Brock the same day, and Brock obviously has history with Vance Joseph. Claiborne played for the Jets the last couple of years, 31 starts. He's more of an outside guy. He was a high draft pick with the Dallas Cowboys, had some injuries there. He really hasn't lived up to being a first-round pick, but he definitely has experience. So if they did have interest in Claiborne, then we'll see if they have interest coming up in camp.
Yeah, and training camp just right around the corner. For details,
July
go to
1st.
azcardinals.com. 14 open practices for the Arizona Cardinals ahead of the 2019 NFL season.
And last year we had 9, and everyone thought, I think it was Calvisi that thought it would be the camp classified, and that wasn't the case. The Eagles have 1. Now, they practice at their facility, so it's kind of unfair. And then the Broncos have 19 because they're playing in the Hall of Fame game. So different staffs, obviously different schedules, but they're not trying to hide anything, even though they're keeping it close to the vest. I don't know how much we're going to see in the preseason or training camp, but the fact is they are opening up 14 practices and free admission, free parking. Get out of the heat.
Yeah, air-conditioned State Farm Stadium out there on the west side of town. All right, without further ado, let's hear from the Bird Gang. Your questions via social media using the hashtag CardsCover2, hashtag CardsCover2, using the number 2 to get involved in the show. Let's start with Twitter. User at TomHudson336 wants to know, are you 100% confident with Zane Gonzalez as our kicker going forward, despite some of his struggles with the Browns last year?
100%. I mean, I need to see it. I know the organization's intrigued, and yes, he needs to be more consistent. But when he was dealing with some of those injuries, it was, some of those missed kicks, he was dealing with a growing injury, and they reached an injury settlement. Now, again, they're judged on what they do during the games. He's going to make some pressure kicks this year if this team's going to be close in the fourth quarter. So I think it's, trial by error, but I know they're excited about his leg and what he can do. And I guess we'll watch him in the preseason, but he's going to be the kicker going into the season, and hopefully we're not talking about that. But I don't know if I'm 100% sure that he'll be the guy the entire season.
Well, here's what Gonzalez did in 5 games with the Cardinals late last year. 7 of 9 on field goal attempts, including the game winner at Green Bay and a career-long 55-yarder at Seattle that tied the game. And then he was 5 of 6 on PATs. And usually there is another kicker that is brought in, or a punter to at least save these guys, so they're not the only guy on special teams as far as kicking field goals, PATs, or punts. So right now, we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's move to questions from Facebook. RJ Garcia wants to know, what do you guys think about the read option or triple option with Kyler, DJ, and Chase?
I don't know about a triple option. I definitely think
that would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be gimmicky. I mean, I know that you can try to catch teams off guard, but keep it simple if you can. They get paid too, and I'm sure there's a lot of coordinators out there. They're going to try to stop this offense. So I definitely think we're going to see the RPOs, the read pass option. I think we're going to see the pistol. I think we're going to see the zone read, and we'll see some concepts and mesh from the air raid offense, which they use in college. So it's going to be a combination, but I don't think we're going to see a triple. Maybe it was more of a tongue-in-cheek question, I suppose.
Mickey Knowles on Facebook. Should Kyler Murray's rating be higher in your opinion, as the other top 5 picks have a much better rating? And in case you missed it at the start of the show, the NFL Madden ratings for the 20 game coming out are the ratings are in, and Kyler Murray a 73. Byron Murphy had a 75. He's the highest rated Cardinal rookie, and amongst other rookies, Quinnen Williams was the only one to score in the 80s, and he landed exactly at 80.
Yeah, if you want to base it on the new rules, I think it's fine. But, normally this is the first time they're going to a new format and a new system. So he would be equivalent to Baker Mayfield last year. So, and keep in mind, nothing against Dwayne Haskins and Daniel Jones and some of these other quarterbacks, but he is the number 1 rookie Madden quarterback on the board, and I don't think that's a surprise.
Yeah, it's again, these guys, they all care about it, and
it's the saddest thing. I mean, it's a swag thing.
There you go. Yes,
and it's not only rookies; it's veteran players that make a jump from one season to the other, and that's all they go to is Pro Football Focus, saying, "Look how I'm one of the top 5 players at my position. Why don't I have a higher rating?"
And we'll see if any of these guys get their rating changed.
We're going to have at least a couple.
Yeah, I'd be surprised to see if that does happen. But again, we'll wait and see. Got this comment from Sean Navage. I'm sure Murray could care less about his ratings on Madden. He may get the cover next year, though.
Sean, once again, that wouldn't be accurate. He is excited. I actually talked to him about it. It's again, when we get to game day, it's not going to be a thing. It's just more about where he's ranked from the computer, because it's a swag thing. And again, probably the only time we're going to talk about this. And then next year, I believe he'll be somewhere in the 80s. When Patrick Mahomes came out, he was 77. So, and if you're a really good quarterback, you're going to be somewhere in the high 80s, if not 90s.
And let's hope that Murray does get the cover at some point in his career.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking for playmakers, and if you want to give 2 guys, and I don't think Russell Wilson's been on there, but Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson, there are similar traits. I want to say Mike Vick's been on there. It seems like this is year number 20, right? So those are traits, and if you're a guy that's going to be a dual threat, or you get a running back like David Johnson, puts over 2,000 yards rushing and receiving, those are the guys that usually get on the cover.
Appreciate the Bird Gang signing off here on this Monday afternoon. Keep your questions, comments coming. We'll do it again on Wednesday. Again, use the hashtag CardsCover2, hashtag CardsCover2, using the number 2 to get involved in the show. And again, we love hearing from the Bird Gang, not only here in Arizona, but throughout the country, throughout the world. as we love hearing from Cardinal fans all four corners of the world here on Cards Cover 2. Well, it is certainly good to be back here at the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center. Once again, we'll be back with you on Wednesday. Programming note, Wednesday, our last show of the week. The rest of the week off for July 4th holiday. And then before you know it, snap of your fingers, training camp will be here, and we'll be coming to you at State Farm Stadium for many of those open practices.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to it. We're putting our schedule together. Of course, we'll have wall-to-wall coverage. We got a great staff here on the digital side and the writing side. So when it comes to one-stop shopping, you can check out all the different podcasts, all the different videos. Again, great content. Go to azcardinals.com. We'll have you covered not only now, but throughout the entire season.
Absolutely. And special thanks here as we wrap up this edition of Cards Cover 2 to those behind the scenes. Andrew, Grayson Choi, Grant Greeley, Jackson Sipes, for my partner, Mike Jurecki. I'm Craig Grialou. We'll talk to you on Wednesday here on Cards Cover 2.